So once you have it in here with your meat that you've chopped up, you can add ground pork to fill up these spaces in between the larger chunks. This time I decided not to use those. It's more like a Spam than it is a ham, but it's okay to use that if you have that to fill up some of the smaller spaces. Just cut them in different sizes, some larger chunks, some smaller chunks, so they all kind of take up the space inside. You can use sea salt, just regular salt. As a cure, I use the Morton's Quick Cure, and for the accelerator, I use the Sodium Erythorbate for the cure accelerator. For me, that would be 1 gram, which is easier to measure than a half a gram. A half a gram is pretty hard to measure, unless you can measure a gram and then take half away. Kind of gives you a visual on what it looks like. I use the whole gram, and I have 2 kilos in here. I like the kilos because with the grams you have a more precise measurement than with your cups and teaspoons. That just doesn't make sense to me anyway much, because things weigh differently depending on what type they are, on salts or sugars or anything like that. So anyway, once you mix that all up with your ingredients, it's ready to go for a cure. You'll put it in something where you can put pressure on it. You can put bricks on it or something. You can use a bread form, like a loaf form. That way you'll have a square tin. Just put pressure on it with bricks. Put it in the fridge for about 3 days. Let it cure. And then when it comes out, you can set the whole container into a water bath. Make sure the water goes just above the meat line. And then you can boil it lightly, not heavily boil, like a 90 degrees centigrade, just before it gets 100, which is boiling. But if you boil it, simmer it for about 90 minutes, and your meat should be ready to go. Let it cool off. Now, I used one of these bags for the poultry processing bags because they can A, take very high temperatures, and B, they're stretchy, so I can actually take this off when it's done, and I don't have to try to get it out of the mold by poking in it or whatever. Plus, when I boil it, the water, if it does go in here, it's not going to go into the meat. So for me, this is going to work very well. So even if I have it overly filled with water, or the water bubbles up too much and goes in, it won't actually go into the meat. Now you want to keep that pressure on for until it is actually out of the water bath. So that pressure needs to stay on throughout the processing, which is, I'm going to put this on here now, and even during processing, the weight will go on here when you put it into the water bath. So you're going to want to leave that on there until it's totally cooled off, and then you'll see if all your proteins have bonded, and they are. You can use a binder as well if you find that your meat doesn't bond too well. You can use different kinds of binders. There is like a dried milk powder is one that I would use. There are different kinds out there. I'm not really sure what all of the others are, but that would be the one I'd use, is some milk powder, because it's a protein powder. So there you have it. Let's see what it would look like when it's done. I end up using a small bowl. I wanted more pressure, so I got some paving blocks from outside. I've wrapped them in one of those plastic bags too. And I weighed it. It's 14 pounds. So just over, a little over 17, actually just under 7 kilograms. It's about 6 and a little bit of kilograms, of course. So 14 pounds of pressure pushing down on it. Thing is, I'm going to have to keep this in the fridge, so I'm going to make sure I put it on the edge to where it has more support, since I have glass shelves and I don't want to smash the glass shelves. So I'll put it towards the edge, because the more in the middle you'll put this, the more bow you'll get in the glass, and it could potentially crack. So I don't want to do that. I'll try to put it to one side, and we'll see this thing in 3 days, and then I will cook it or water bath it for about 90 minutes. We'll pull it out and do a look test and a taste test.